Welcome mosaicers, my name is Jay and I'm excited to share with you another Mandala Art mosaic video. In this video we'll be discussing Mosaic Grout Additive. If you're someone that enjoys creating outdoor art such as bird baths, pavers or any other mosaics that might be prone to liquid damage, then this product is perfect for you. By simply adding the additive to your grout powder, you can significantly reduce mold growth and make your grout waterproof, stronger, and way more flexible. However, using this product correctly is really important, as improper use can cause some issues down the track. And that's why in this video, we'll cover the proper procedures for use and we'll highlight some common mistakes to avoid. Okay, so before we start any mosaic project, we must consider the surface first and prepare it correctly, as this is going to help keep the artwork safe from the weather and help it stand the test of time. So to show you a little example of how to prepare an outdoor surface, I'm going to do some prep work on this pot. You need to make sure that you get rid of all of the dust off any surface. So a damp towel or a damp cloth, wipe inside and out and get that surface nice and clean. And now I'm going to seal it with our additive. Using a paintbrush, seal both inside and outside of the pot with the additive. Make sure to work it into all the cracks and gaps. We do this to avoid moisture or mold getting under the mosaic tile and damaging our artwork. Now that you've learnt about preparing and sealing surfaces, it's time to learn about how to mix the mosaic additive with the grout and apply it to our artwork. It's always good practice to have all necessary materials within reach before starting. Keep in mind that the product is curing as you're working on it, so having everything close by can help make the process more seamless and enjoyable. So this is what we're going to need. Sponges, lots and lots of them. We're going to need our grout. I use a super fine grout. This is one of our grouts, it's a great grout. Squeegees. Now if you get your hands on some squeegees, make sure they've got good flex and they're a solid rubber or plastic, because you don't want your squeegees coming off into your grout as you're sort of wiping over. So good squeegees are really, really handy to have. Bowl of water. We're going to need our water for all of our wash up, our cleaner, rinsing of our sponges. So having a bowl of water close by is always, always handy. We're going to need our mixing bowl, a spoon. We're going to need a polishing cloth. I'm using like a microfiber cloth. It's really good. I find that it doesn't come off into the grout, especially when it goes over sharp pieces of glass. It tends to stay, it's quite hardy. So great polishing cloth. You can use a tea towel or anything else that might be smooth. Of course, our Mosaic Grout Additive. We're going to need some gloves and a measuring cup. Okay, so once we've got all that, we're ready to move on. Okay, so now it's time to make our grout mixture. I usually use a ratio of around about 500 grams of grout to about 150 mils of additive. However, it's crucial to test your mixtures, as the consistencies may vary depending on the grit and pigment in each individual grout batch. The key is to aim for a toothpaste-like consistency that looks and feels great. So let's give it a go. I've got my 500 grams of grout here. I'm going to put into a bowl. And I've got my 150 mils of additive that I'm going to add. Now I've always got extra grout and extra additive that I want to have on hand, just in case my mixtures are way too either runny or dry. Now, I have brought a tray to grout today because I wanted to sort of show you guys how versatile this additive is and how great it is for indoor products even that are prone to getting some sort of liquid damage, water, coffee, tea. So this is what we're going to do today. With that said, let's get grouting. Okay, so I'm now going to grout. I'm going to throw down my grout. You can see that beautiful texture of grout. And just plop that down. Just in a few random spots, just so I can spread to that. And off we go. So I've got my squeegee. I'm going to use my bigger squeegee for now, just so I can really spread this grout around and in nice and quickly. Not too rushed, but really want to get this grout into all my gaps. You can see that there. Just going to go into all my corners. Right in there. Now I'm going to get my little squeegee. And up there. Get me those little beautiful little corners. Get my finger and actually get in there too. Now I'm just going to remove excess off, and you can see how much excess comes off now. We want to try to remove as much of that as we can. See how much is coming off? Now we're not digging it out, we're just taking it off the surface, because when we get our sponge on it, really what we want to do is get that sponge just working the last bits of grout off. That's looking pretty good. Okay, so now I've got my sponge, and I'm going to just dampen that sponge down so it's not too wet. And I'm going to start to wipe over, and you can see the grout is getting softer, and I'm turning my sponge to use my clean side of my sponge each time. Now, I said before, you can never have enough sponges. So this one here, I'm probably going to leave there, and I'm going to get another one. Enough sponges, really squeeze it out. Okay, and one side, turn it around, clean side. Another clean side, might give it a bit more water, not too much water. Too much water and getting the grout too wet is problematic. So we just want enough so we can start to see the grout lifting off the surface. Okay, there we go. I've done my 4. Another sponge. Squeeze it right out. And that's nice and it feels dry really. And I'm going to turn it. Turn it. Turn it. Turn it. Now this last sponge is a bit drier, but I'm not going to dampen this one. I'm actually just going to take that top layer off here now. Turn it around this side. Turn it around here. Because I don't want to get my grout any wetter than it is at the moment. Okay, and turn it around here. Okay, so there we go. I don't want to get that grout any wetter, so I'm literally just over the top. You can see I'm not even pushing down on that too hard. Just trying to get the tiles clean now and not focusing on anything else but just wiping the surface of the tiles. You can give this a little stain. Well, I quite like the look of the white. Now think I might give that about 10 minutes now, which is going to dry a little bit, and then I'm going to bring back my sponges and work with it again. Okay, so 10 minutes has gone. I can see that there's this cloudy sort of film that's developed over the tiles, and it's not much, so that's great. So and it's still, the grout is still wet, so I'm going to squeeze my sponge out now, and I'm just going to see, again, not too wet. I just want to see how clean I can get these tiles without wetting my grout. So I'm going to turn my sponge. There's barely anything coming off, which is great. I mean, it's coming off the tiles, but you can just see there's barely, there's no chunky bits of grout coming off now. It's just taking off that top cloudiness. I'm going to get my soft cloth now. I'm just going to wipe over. I don't want to dig any grout out now. I'm going to wipe over the top and dry that tile off a bit more. You really want to be working this product almost all the way to the polishing stage, but the trick is to not get your grout wet. So I'm pretty happy with that, and I reckon I'm going to leave that now till tomorrow. We're going to come back and my grout's going to be all beautiful and dry. Okay, so we're going to address a problem that may occur when you're using the additive, and that is cracking in our grout, in between our tiles. Now, if you have a look here, you can see the cracks that have appeared through the tiles, and there's a couple of reasons why this will occur. Firstly, tiles really need to be, when you're mosaicing, you really want to try to keep your tiles around about that 2 to 4 millimeter gap. This means that you're not going to have too much gap in between your tiles. More gap, the more likely it's going to be to crack. So we want to try to have, and you can see around the outside where we've got a 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 millimeter gap, we don't have any cracking. As soon as we start going beyond, we get cracks appearing. Now, each piece of art is going to be different. So, of course, you can't have that perfect 1 to 4 millimeter gap all the time. So if you do get cracking, there is an easy fix to that, and I'm going to show you that now. Now, just another reason you might get cracking is that the room may be too warm and the grout is curing way too fast. So when you do your grout, try to find a spot that is out of direct sunlight firstly, and that is fairly cool. So a nice cool shaded spot to let your grout dry. If you're in a warmer climate, that might be really difficult. So if you can find an air conditioned room, that's fantastic too. So just give it a go, but let's fix the problem. Let's just say this has occurred. What can we do? Well, we're going to use our additive again because we want to use the same, we want to get the same color. So we're going to use our additive, but this time, rather than mixing it to our grout and having it as a toothpaste consistency, we're going to want to sort of have a really nice runny mix like this. And the reason for that is we want this to settle into all of the cracks. We want to try to avoid raising the grout height any higher than what it is, because we do like to see that grout settle just down below the tiles. It's a really classic look for grouting, rather than sitting right at the top and then you lose that sort of dimension of the, the beautiful tile colors. It can look a little bit flat. So we want that grout to settle a little bit, which this has done beautifully. It's just that the cracks have appeared. So this runny grout, as you can see, is perfect. We're going to basically just put it onto our surface like this. I put a bit everywhere. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a sponge this time. I'm going to dampen it down, so even more sort of wet than what we are, and I'm just going to work it over our surface again. Now this is just going to push that grout into the gaps because it's runny. If it was thick, it might not get into those cracks. So you can see, really easy to apply. And what that will do, will just settle into all of those cracks and gaps. Now again, we are using the additive, so we want to make sure we follow the steps that we went through earlier, which means that we want to work that additive out of the tile. So I'm happy that that's got into all my cracks. I've sort of worked it in and around, and that, because it's wetter as well, we do have a bit more time to sort of really work it in. We want to make sure we're not really pushing this sponge hard into the surface, because we don't want to be getting little bits of sponge catching and then drying into our mix. Nothing worse. Same with the squeegee as well. You want to make sure that you're not really digging into your tiles. Some tiles are quite sharp, so what that means is that your rubber squeegee may get sort of ripped into pieces, and then you find all these really, small bits of rubber in your grout. So try to avoid that. Now I've just got another dampened sponge, so in a clean sponge, and I'm just going to basically get rid of all the thick stuff that sits on top. Turn it over, fresh side, work it again. I've got a couple sides, another fresh side, work it again, and already I can see all of my gaps all my cracks have been filled. Okay, there we go. Another sponge gone, another fresh sponge. As I said earlier, you cannot have you can't have enough sponges basically. You want as many as you can. Easy to clean afterwards, so have a good reserve of sponges. Okay, and I can see that this now is perfect. And I'm going to use a dryish one now and see whether I can just wipe the surface. Beautiful. And all of those cracks have vanished now. So I can now wait 10 minutes and then just give this another wipe. And that's it. It's as easy as that to fix those cracks and gaps. And using the additives, you are prone to getting more cracks. So don't freak out. Just basically another couple of layers, or another one layer hopefully, of a really diluted down grout mixture. And that's it. Perfect. Come back overnight and this is what looks like. Fantastic. You can see here there's just some cloudy, powdery sort of film off. I can actually get it off with my finger, really. That's how keep work. Like, if I've kept working on it, if I hadn't have kept working on it yesterday, that would be like a glue and really hard to remove, but you can see how easy that is to get off. Now I'm going to speed up the process. I'm going to dampen my sponge again. This time it's not going to matter too much because I'm not going to be moving any more of that grout that's underneath up on top of the surface. So really, I'm sort of polishing with a damp sponge now. There's a few bits there that might just be a bit hard to get off. I can use a bit more water. Looks amazing. A few bits in there. So you can just with your finger get some of the, you can see in there. Get my finger onto that. Most of that will come off. All of that will come off. So I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to get my polishing cloth and I'm going to give this a really nice polish. Look at that, looks amazing. Okay guys, so we have finished our tray. It looks amazing. We've used our additive, it's easy to use, and it's made this tray now water resistant to any sort of water or any liquid that spills on it. Guys, that's brought us to the end of the video. I hope you found it helpful, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.